Good afternoon. Welcome to my channel, Watercolor Painting in the Afternoon. Today I want to paint a beautiful red apple hanging all by itself on a branch. It looks like a very fall-oriented picture, and I know that we're in the middle of summer, but I could use some fall. So I'm going to attempt to paint this picture. I will show you the picture before I begin to paint it. But if I can't do that, then I will leave a link to the picture in the description box. It is from Pixabay. And here we go. I'm going to start by making a grayish looking background up on top. And this does follow very well the rule of thirds. You'll see as I go along. But the background is just a light, pretty gray, and I think it's kind of this putty gray that I have over here. I think they called it like a titanium or a buff color of some sort. But just this in the background, we're just going to paint that in very lightly at first, a little bit heavier back here. Especially on the outsides, the corners, the edges of the page. And then coming in, it gets just a little bit brighter. If you have buff titanium, I think that would be the closest thing to this color. This color is cream from Daler and Rowney, the same company that did this brush, this flat wash brush. And I don't think they make the color anymore. I've looked for it and I can't find it, so I don't think they make this color anymore. But that's okay. I think titanium white or something like that would work just fine. And then we're going to have this kind of limey yellow green in the foreground. But again, not too bright. I don't want it to be something that just kind of takes over the painting. But we are also working with contrasting colors today. The apple will be red with some green in it, and the grass certainly is a bright, limey sort of green that will contrast well with the apple when we get it on there. And never mind that I am painting over where the apple will be. This green, I think, is light enough that it's not going to matter that much. So I'm going to also pick up just a little bit of this darker green because I think there's a shadow back here of something. And I'm just going to go ahead and put that in. And then I am going to take just a little bit out of the or off of the page, and I can do that because I'm going to lift a little bit off the page right where the apple will be, and I can do that because this is 100% cotton paper and it lifts well. It allows me to lift paint well. I just don't want the red to be too polluted with the green and turn out to be kind of muddy and brown instead of a crisp red apple. So my apple will be about right there, and I think that's about the right size for it. All right. We also have some branches in the background that are a little bit blurry, and so I want to put those in while I have a damp background. So some of them come down this way and they're just going to fuzz out a little bit on me. And that's fine, that's what I want them to do. I don't want them to be too fuzzy and I don't want them to be too clear. But they're doing a pretty good job here of fuzzing out into the background. And some of these little branches come up off of here like that. And again over here. So we have, I might just touch the edge here and allow it to fuzz out even more. It got a little dry. It's still quite warm here in South Carolina, very, very warm August days. And my watercolor paper dries very quickly. So I have to work kind of fast if I want certain effects to work. Okay, that's nice. Now I think I'm going to allow that to dry, and when it's done I will come back and paint the in focus branches and the apple. Alright, this is pretty dry, so what I'm going to do is use this number 4 Princeton Aqua Elite brush. It's got nice long hairs for the brush, and it comes to a really nice point. So I like that. It's going to make a nice fine line when I want it to, and it's going to make a thicker line when I want it to. So I'm using some sepia because that's the darkest brown that I have. Nice dark rich brown. It's a brown mixed with black. You can get, if you don't have sepia, you can make this by mixing a little bit of umber and black. Just good old ivory black if you have any, or if you don't, you can mix it with a Payne's gray or something like that, depending on what you've got. So I'm going to bring my other branch, and this one should not fuzz out like the other one did. I may need to add more black actually to this because there's a grayness to these branches that I might want to include. Apple branches are kind of knobby and knotty, and I'm making kind of jerky motions with my hand so that I can indicate how rough they are. They don't have to be perfect. If you know me, you know my paintings are seldom perfect. And we're just gonna make some little knobs here and there too, because there's just little places that on the apple branch that look like maybe a leaf fell off right there. There was a leaf there before and it came off, or maybe even an apple. All right, so there's one branch, and then another branch comes down this way, kind of off of that one. Like so. And again, it's very knotty and knobby and has all kinds of little places on it that look like something used to cling there. Like maybe a beautiful autumn leaf or an apple, one of the apples. And then this branch continues to come down to about a third of the page this way. So we are dealing in the rule of thirds. So the rest of the branch comes down about right here. And connects. Then we have a little leaf on the end. I will not paint the leaf in yet. That's just the vein of the leaf. And then our apple. Our apple is going to hang down from this branch. And it's kind of got a long stem right here. And there's another leaf coming off of it, going this way. All right. Now I want to come back maybe with a little bit of gray. So I think I will take Payne's gray. I think I will. Even though it's a very cool gray, and this is a nice warm brown, I think the contrast will be nice. So I'm just going to dot it in there while it's still wet and let the paint flow and make its way around the channel of wet paint that's in there. And it'll look a lot like the little spots that you see on most apple branches or tree branches in general. Some of those little spots are even a little bit green because you have maybe some moss growing on the tree, something of the kind. So I'm just going to pop a gnat in here. So I'm just going to drop some green in as well. Let that flow. It'll be harder to see the green because it's so dark. It's such a dark brown. But I think if you look hard enough, you'll be able to see that there's a little bit of green added into the branch. And that just represents that moss that's on the branch. And now we're going to paint the apple. And for the apple, I have to think just a minute because I want the apple to be a nice bright red. So I've got alizarin crimson here, and it's very bright, but a very kind of cool pinky red. And I think I want it warmer than that, so I'm going to add it to that little pool of orange that I had there. Maybe add a little bit more orange, and turn it into more of a pyrrole red, a really true red. So it just needed a little bit of orange in it in order to become a true red. And this apple has a shape to it. And I want to try to get that right. And you can see there's a little bit of space. Maybe I'll just pull the apple out a little bit this way. I don't want that space to be there. It's a nice big apple anyway, so it doesn't matter. So let's just fill this in. I don't have any shadows on it yet. I don't have any contrast on it yet. My main highlight is going to be right over here. So I'm going to switch my brush and get a little stiffer brush. My trusty Walmart. Shh, don't tell anybody. My trusty Walmart brush. You too can get a trusty Walmart brush. You just have to go to Walmart. I know a lot of people don't like to go to Walmart. I don't blame you. But you know, a lot of people can't go anywhere else because it's affordable. So, or more affordable, maybe I should say, than some. All right, so let's just let that be our highlight. And then as we come down this way, we have some green in the apple. And I'm going to pull just a little sap green out. And right down here at the bottom, I'm barely going to touch it in, and I'm not going to move it around with my brush very much. I'm going to let the paint move itself in this apple by just tipping it a little bit. Let's tip it up this way, and hopefully it will just do its own thing and come down and become a part of that apple. Like I said, I don't want to do too much of this. I'm encouraging it a little because there's some kind of stripes of green coming through the apple from the bottom. I don't want to turn it brown. That's my problem. I don't want that to turn brown, and it can turn brown if you're not careful. The shadow part of the apple is over here, so let's add just a tiny bit of brown to that red. That's what I want to do. And I'm going to come around this way. Again, using my little inexpensive brush. Making sure that I don't get the wash there too flat and too well defined. This is an apple, but it's not perfectly round. It is round, but not perfectly round. So, and there we go. I think I'm going to let this dry for a little bit, and we'll see if we can get the leaves in there, and then we'll almost be done with this cute little apple picture. I really like it. Let me pull that green down a little bit. Now I think I pushed it up way too far. Okay, let's let that dry. All right, now that that has sort of settled in and I can look at it again with some fresh eyes, I think it looks pretty good, and I'm just going to try adding in there's only 2 leaves in this entire picture, and I'm going to try adding those in to see how they look. So one of them is over here, and I've just used some quinacridone gold along with a little just bright yellow. I never have the right names for these colors, do I? But it's any bright yellow I think would do. And then the leaf itself has these brown spots all over it, and so I'm just going to just kind of dab them in there. I don't want it to, I want it to look random. I don't want it to look like I made rows of dots, so I'm being kind of as free with it as I can be. It's nice to be able to splatter on something, because then the dots are truly random, but of course if you tried to splatter in there it would go everywhere. So we can't do that, can we? Well, let's get this next leaf. Again, I'm going to use this quinacridone and yellow color together. And I think I need it a little bit thicker than that, don't I? Here we go. And this one's kind of dried up and ready to fall as well. This one has even more brown in it, but not so much the speckles. It's just got some brown about it. All right. So I think that's pretty much it. I'm not going to do much more to this painting. It's a very simple painting. Makes me think a little bit of autumn. I do see one little thing I could do that would be cute. Make you remember that it's an apple. The little place right there where there used to be a bud. And if you want to, you can even come back down here and make sure that you've got your shadow properly dark enough. sometimes the picture, the photograph, we copy the photograph very well, but to be honest, we need just a little bit more color variation in the watercolor version because it just looks better and it comes across better. So it's okay to be a little bit of an editor when it comes to your to the picture that you're using. Anyway, I hope that you've enjoyed this little apple demonstration and tutorial, if that's what you want to call it. And I hope that you have followed along and enjoyed watching. And if you did, please remember to click like for me and quickly subscribe. All you got to do is click a button, and it's very helpful. Thank you for watching. See you next time.